All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets today, pretty good gap down and a good sell overall, but a lot going into today. So we had CPI this morning. And it's funny, they kind of faked it out beforehand. And then we dropped pretty good here. And I'll admit, I thought we would slice down this morning, but I thought the dip would get bought a little bit quicker. So we definitely sliced way harder than I would have anticipated. You can see here where we've busted this trend line now on the ES. I talked about that yesterday. We effectively back tested it, and now we're just kind of, you can make a case for bear flagging below it. But that tells me the market was a little unhedged. So the last couple of CPI prints, right, this one did come in hotter than expected, not just hotter month over month, year over year. We knew that was going to happen, right? All you had to do is take one look at gasoline. I knew that was going to happen, but it actually beat expectations. But we've had a few of those prints. Last month, PPI beat by 0.6 and the market didn't care. That tells me that it's kind of like almost a boy who cried wolf type situation, but like in reverse, right? Where you've got the market like, oh, they're hedged. We're going to stay hedged for CPI or hedged for CPI. Then finally, like, we don't need to be hedged for CPI. It's not going to do anything. Then that's where it gets you. And we got a really good slice down on the futures, and we've had a decent recovery, but not anything that I would resemble a V shape or a massive dip by yet. So I think that market's a little caught off guard there. Bonds obviously got routed today. Look at the ZT, just getting absolutely pummeled. We had a 10-year auction today as well. ZN, absolutely pummeled, poor auction, and really kind of follow through to the downside. It is bouncing right now. I think short term, we'll talk about bonds in a second, but I think short term probably due for a little bounce here. But big sell. And additionally, dollar yen, it's above the magical level. So we're at multi-decade highs again on the dollar yen. I think they'll walk this back tonight. I would be surprised if they didn't. I also think bonds going into tomorrow with PPI, if they weren't hedged today, they'll be hedged tomorrow. They'll be hedged tomorrow, I would hope. And 30-year auction tomorrow. So I would assume they're hoped for that, hedged for that as well. I think today's kind of priced in any bad, kind of bad-ish news tomorrow. So you could see those hedges come off and, post, de facto, or however you want to say it. Additionally, let's just look at bonds now. Additionally yields, 2-year right up into 5%, right? Pivot high, a lot of resistance up there. 5s kind of coming into this pivot as well. 10s coming into a zone right here. 30s. I've been predicting 475, but again, right into this little pivot there. So I would be shocked if the market's not hedged going into those events tomorrow. So I think maybe you could see a little pullback next couple of days in yields. That's really all. But I still have that, bullish bias on them. And, the reason why the market's not happy right now is because, like I've been saying over and over and over, forget the damn 10-year. Look at this if you want to know about Fed policy. And all of a sudden now, market only pricing in one cut this year. Why? Because this is touching 5% or close to it. Again, I think that gets walked back a little bit. What is astonishing here, and I think it's very clear about today, why aren't we down more, right? 2-year yield up 21, let me repeat that, 21 basis points. If you're like new, I don't know how to give you an analogy, but that's like, doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. The market right now, honestly, should be down 2 to 3, maybe 4%, just based off of the bond market move alone. Forget about the support and resistance, forget about 5%. Just the fact that the 2 years up that much in one session should freak the hell out of the stock market. Why aren't we down? Look at kind of where we are here, 5150, 5160. There's a lot of put interest right down here. And They don't want us getting below that. And they don't want the VIX getting above 16 or 17. Why? Because we have OPEX coming up next week. Look at NVIDIA today. It's not a coincidence that this all of a sudden, there we go. It's not a coincidence that this all of a sudden V-shaped and then pinned sideways all day long. What else? Meta and Amazon, right? They used a basket of stocks to keep us pinned while they sold other things. That's a common thing. It happens all the time. But that is my belief here, is that we should have been down a lot more. But you have a lot of powerful, expiration effects going on in the market. And while that happens, we can expect some pinning. So even if we get selling, expect dips to be bought still. However, I do expect those to result in lower highs. I mean, there's no way around. We've talked about the technical damage here. I've talked about that last week. If we look at the intradays here, we busted this wedge. We didn't get above it. You can see it on the ES as well. So even though dips are being bought, it's kind of resulting in lower highs. Look at perfect test right before the CPI on ES, right to that top trend line, and then right down, slice through it. So some damage is being done. I'm kind of in the camp here that we still have highs in place, but for the next week or so, we'll probably be flattish to positive. We'll see some good slices in volatility, but I think those dips will get bought for now. After that, I think it's kind of an all bets are off type scenario here, especially if they can't control this puppy. I'm sure they will tonight. I'm sure they will. They'll wake up and do something about it. We'll probably be back below 152 by the time we wake up tomorrow. But I mean, this has been a long time coming here. Look at the higher lows, right? On the weekly, we've been talking about this. So definitely some problems out there. But right now, markets are holding up, still inside of this red. And we did close below 51.80 too. So that is a little bit more of a psychological advantage for bears, although, the big level now is this low here, right around that 51.50 area. But definitely some weakness here in the market, a lot of pinning effects, and I expect that to continue here for the next couple of days. I think bonds, again, like I've been saying, I think they're good for maybe a little bit of a bounce here. Even if the auction is terrible tomorrow, and even if PPI is terrible, right, we know it's, we're expecting, right? So when you have expectations, it's harder to continue to follow through on those after it's already kind of made a move. So that's just kind of my thoughts on the next couple of days. QQQ, again, also weak, down, only 87 basis points, right? Only 87 basis points down with if you guys are veterans, you know what I'm talking about. Like 21 basis points in the 2-year yield. It's just almost unheard of here. But again, still inside of this range. Still the line in the sand is right down here. We're hammering on that 50 MA now too. So watch that. But yeah, Q's coming in. Now the Russell, I think, is kind of interesting here. We talked about this trend line. We hit it today and it got a bounce. So again, here's another reason why I think we're probably going to bounce here. Maybe over the next week or so. But good trend line hit. We hit 200 and it got a reaction. So we'll see if that can follow through here. Again, 205 resistance and then gap fill. 210s remains your big level. Weekly pattern still, intact right now. You're still above this green. Clear that up so you can see it a little bit better. You're still above that green bar low. But again, everything weak today. Shouldn't be a surprise. Dow touching the 20-week moving average essentially today, and then getting a little bit of a bounce there. So slicing below 385 now. And it went to about 383, low of the day. Yeah, 383.03. And you got a bid there. So your next resistance is going to be right up here. So these previous pivots, and then obviously the red bar high. So if we go up here, I think maybe that could be a good fade opportunity on the Dow over the next week or so. But continuing to show some weakness there. The SMH was, again, only down 87 bips. But again, like a lot of that was NVIDIA. Look at AMD. AMD down 2%. Broadcom down 88 basis points. Intel down 3. Intel can't get out of its own way right now. So we had a little bit of weakness here in semis, but NVIDIA kind of making up for a lot of that. And again, still daily. Bear and sidebar. SOX, same thing. So could be setting up a little base here. IGV, same thing. Gap down. They did come off the lows, but again, look what it did. I mean, just like a bear flag there. So nothing good there for cloud right now, but it is holding up. Transports took a pretty good whack today, down 2.25. Still holding, you still holding that breakup bar above the 200 still. The weekly is still good, but a lot of chop here. Yeah, definitely a good slice there. All right, so we talked about rates already. Again, I think we will probably pause out here, maybe stall for a day or two. Maybe that calms the market down. XHB outside move down. Finally, some damage done to this thing. Down almost 3.25 with volume this time. So that's how you know it's serious. And take a look here. We can just draw this out. So good slice there. Should get a bounce at the 50. Usually that first hit of the 50 from an extended move is going to get defended. So again, maybe we gap down tomorrow, then we put in a tail candle, and then it can rally back up to gap fill. But definitely finally some signals here that XHB is ready to top out. A more macro target would be 100 and then 95 for a bigger correction. Again, it won't go there in a straight line, but it could take a couple weeks, months, but definitely a good slice there for XHB. VNQ got smoked. This actually came up on one of my scanners here for a sell this morning, but it would have been more contingent on a gap up, and we didn't gap up. It just went right down here with CPI down 4%. You guys know the big level. If we're below that on Friday, this is not good. So that's what I'm watching on VNQ. Sold on volume too. So careful with that. XLF, good outside move, down 1.53. We talked about this already. Bank earnings coming up this weekend. If you were long, right, why don't you take some profits, right? I think we're seeing that. And, with the move in yields here, I think that's more extra incentive. Like, why would you get greedy up here and try to hold? But pretty good slice there. JPM, look at that. Tried to trigger that head and shoulder there, right? And I guess it's like right on the cusp. So we'll watch that into tomorrow. But Fin's a little bit weaker. KRE. Been talking about this, right? Bull pattern fails and then becomes inside bar bear. So careful with KRE here. KBE is better, still stronger on the weekly, but still down a pretty good amount. Holding that breakup bar low right now. Got another one below that, and then again the big weekly level is 42.79. Broker dealers finally something of a pullback there. We did close below that green, so inside bar has failed. And we'll watch this one here. Macro level retest would be like 560. And again, you got the 50 MA down there as well. But pretty good sell there for XBD. First time in a while. Oil held up all right. So up at 1.25. And again, if this 20 MA catches up, I think it can just go right to the low 90s. That's all I've got in the cards for it. But it held up well. We had inventories too, and it got hit pretty good on inventories, and then bought the dip, rolled over, bought the dip again, and then it took off in the end of the day. So pretty decent price action overall. XLE, same thing, just trying to flag there right now. XOP and OIH, similar looks there. So they're just overbought. CCJ holding up again, starting to put in kind of that possible bull flag look. Needs the moving averages to catch up. Same thing with URNM. I like that candle, little tail, and then a big wide range green body. I like that. So looking pretty decent. Nat gas fractionally lower. Still holding up. I still think this can get to 2, but it definitely backed off a little bit today. Yeah, a little bit weaker on the intraday, but it could still has a chance for these hourly higher lows and higher highs for one more pop up into that $2 handle. Dollar index. Been talking about this. Everybody wants to tell me the dollar's dead. It's not yet. It might not be for a long, long time too. Weekly higher lows. We're above that pivot. We've been talking about 105, and we're above that. Again, yes, you closed above 105 today with a higher low, but again, it might want to go recheck back to that tomorrow. Again, you got kind of like these pivots right in here, like in this area, right? And then you got the red bar breakdown. So I think, again, kind of like bonds, like I'm expecting them to maybe just pull back a little bit today. I would not be surprised to see some currency intervention tonight, right? We talked about the yen already. So they might want to try and back that off a little bit. But again, power move there for the dollar. And, weekly chart, like I said, if this holds up here, you got 106 and then you're up to 107 again. And after that, I mean, you got the big breakdown bar here, but it's like, what, 110 is your next level. So dollar holding up. Gold finally pulled back a little bit. I thought it would if we got a hot print, and that is kind of the case. Or even if we got a cooler print, just because it's had such a run up. We'll see what it does going into OPEX. I'm still going to give it the upside bias to 2,400. If we come down, it depends on how fast we're coming down, but the 20 MA could be a bounce level right now. Past that, there's a lot of support at 22 and then 22.25. So we'll watch this range here. Silver also stalling out, so it did make a new higher high. But again, we're watching this 28.50 area. We've been talking about that the last day or so. Again, we were just unable to really sustain above this, right? So we got above it a few times, got above it. So this is a stall out area for silver. But if it gets through that, it can go to $30 here. I think you'd get a bigger pullback there. Platinum backing off of 1,000. We figured that would happen. And palladium backing off the 200 MA. But those still look all right. Copper here backing off as well. But still very strong on the weekly. And again, might need to pull back or stall out in that area. But nothing terrible. Bitcoin still hanging in there. So again, we kind of had that like fake out of the wedge. I thought that might happen, but then we dipped today and then we came back. So looking at the intraday, yeah, had pretty good, pretty much, yeah, put in the low right at 830 and then higher lows all day long. So Bitcoin holding up okay. Yeah, no real problems here. Weekly is still good, as you guys know. I just want to see it do a little bit more basing. So Bitcoin looks fine. And yeah, again, right now, I'd expect some pinning effects for the next week or so. After that, I think the market's a little vulnerable here for a corrective move. A lot of people are talking about crashes and all that stuff. I don't like to get into that. I'm not expecting anything like that. But we could see some, if these volatility sellers, put sellers, continue fighting the bond market and they lose the protection of that OPEX coming up, then yeah, you could see a pretty good steep sell where volatility does get unchained. But I'm not expecting, massive, people are predicting crashes and stuff. I'm not really expecting anything like that, but definitely coming into a period where I think we could see some, more of a meaningful pullback other than, 2 or 3 days. So anyways, guys, gonna wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. We'll see you guys all tomorrow.